Okay, let's unpack this. I want to jump straight into the trap of productivity, starting with entry 3552.
Right. The illusion of organization.
Yes. So in entry 3552, the author talks about creating like a weekend email folder, a place where you stash all those newsletters, the deep dive articles, the projects you're totally going to get to when you, quote unquote, have free time.
And let me guess, it just becomes a graveyard.
A complete graveyard of hundreds of untouched items. And they give this other example in entry 3552 that just, it hit me right in the gut. Migrating an Evernote database.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. 14,000 notes collected over 17 years. And moving all of that into a new app like Obsidian, just to realize almost none of it is relevant to who they are today. It's like meticulously packing a giant suitcase with outfits for every possible climate on Earth.
Right.
But then never actually leaving your house to take the trip.
That's a perfect analogy, because what entry 3552 is diagnosing is the psychology of lists. We think we're being productive, but lists aren't actually motivators.
They aren't.
No, I mean, the text points out that a list is just a deferral of a choice. Choices motivate us. Lists just, let us postpone the choice, which is why the author brings up the system of three.
The system of three.
Yeah, you strip away the 14,000 options and you just decide on three things. That's it. Constraint creates action. Yeah. And this actually leads perfectly into entry 3554.
Oh, about the finish line.
Entry 3554 reorients how we look at goals, because hitting the goal isn't really about the feeling at the finish line. It's about the feelings you had along the way.
Right, the journey.
Yeah, and there's this incredible quote in entry 3554. You can travel with doubts, but worse to arrive with regrets.
Oh, wow. That's heavy.
Right, because if the journey is miserable, getting to the end isn't going to magically fix it.
But see, if the emotional journey is what matters, then entry 3551 comes in and makes it even more complicated. Well, entry 3551 argues that our emotions during that journey, they don't actually need explanations. Like the urge to over-intellectualize how we feel while we're working actually ruins the feeling. It wouldn't feel the same if we tried to rationalize it.
Well, that makes total neurological sense. The moment you demand a logical explanation for a raw emotion, you force your brain to step outside the experience.
You sanitize it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that creates a huge problem for the creator.
Right. Which brings me to my big question for you. If we are paralyzed by our own infinite lists and we know the emotional journey is what matters, how do we actually find the directive to take that first step?
That's the million-dollar question, facing the blank canvas. And what's fascinating here is how the text addresses this in entry 3558.
The Andy Warhol entry.
Yes, because we tend to mythologize artists, right? We think they just wake up with absolute certainty. But entry 3558 shatters that. It points out that Andy Warhol, whose art made him look incredibly sure of himself, was actually often deeply uncertain.
He was, like, mired in choices.
He was constantly asking the people around him what he should paint or what he should do next. Sometimes even the greatest creators just secretly want someone else to make the choices.
It's honestly so comforting that a legendary creative sometimes just wanted to be told what to do so he wouldn't be a rudderless artist.
It's exhausting to make every decision from scratch.
But let me challenge that for a second. Is needing a boss or someone looking over your shoulder, is that a sign of creative weakness? Or is it just the necessary scaffolding you need to build the building?
That is exactly the tension the author addresses in entry 3556.
Okay.
Entry 3556 explains that artists are inherently role-less. Think about it. There's no built-in societal structure that tells an artist what to do on a Tuesday morning.
Not like an accountant or a surgeon.
Exactly. So to function, the text says they have to create hats to wear.
Yeah.
They adopt roles.
Like putting on the hat of a producer.
Or a curator, yeah. You artificially generate the role so you can bypass your own ego.
That makes a lot of sense. You build your own boss.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, if you can actually make something, well, entry 3557 takes this to a beautiful place.
The optimism of art.
Right. Entry 3557 emphasizes that the sheer fact that someone decides to make art, regardless of how chaotic the world is, it's a signal. It's a profound signal that things are, or at least they are going to be okay.
It's a leap of faith into the future.
It really is.
Right.
But here's where it gets really interesting. What happens when that hopeful creation actually meets the public?
The social mirror.
Exactly. This leads right into entry 3560 and how we perceive the success of others. Because we put our work out there and we want admiration. But entry 3560 calls admiration an inert phenomenon.
Inert, like it doesn't catalyze anything.
Nothing positive anyway. Doesn't actually improve our lives. Instead, it just breeds envy, jealousy, and resentment.
And entry 3560 provides such crucial context for this. The author looks at the shift from the pre-2000s era to the post-Facebook era.
Right. The timeline is key here.
Yeah, because back then, a friend might announce a book publication once, you get a postcard, you feel happy for them, you move on. But now, comparisons are continuous. The admired person is always, putting on a show.
It's ambient success, just everywhere.
Everywhere. And the text notes that what we really need, instead of admiration, is respect. But getting past the pain of that constant admiration, that's a massive hurdle.
Which ties directly into the harsh reality of entry 3553. So we are essentially hardwired not to cheer for our peers. That's what entry 3553 implies.
Pretty much.
It notes that people aren't typically happy for others outside their close family unit. We like to think we're supportive, but...
But evolutionarily, we lived in zero-sum environments. Someone else getting status feels like a threat.
So if the world isn't secretly rooting for you, entry 3553 concludes that you, as the listener, you have to find a way to feel happy without external approval. You cannot rely on public applause.
Because that audience is fundamentally wired to compare themselves to you.
Right. So we have to escape this trap. The endless lists, the social media envy, we have to look at the long-term patterns.
Yes. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, we land on entry 3559.
The concept of seeing clearly.
Exactly. Entry 3559 explains that seeing clearly takes time. Escaping that immediate feedback loop means zooming way out. The author has this striking metaphor.
The furniture one, I love this.
It's so good. Understanding a pattern is like having pieces of a disassembled object shipped to you, piece by piece, from different places over 20 years.
A wooden leg here, a pane of glass there.
Right. And for decades, it just looks like random junk. But then one day, you put it together and you realize it's a piece of furniture you use every single day.
I just marvel at that imagery. It's so comforting to think that random pieces of our lives will eventually make sense. And there's always a but.
There is.
I want to flip the coin to the dark side of this concept, which the author does in entry 3555. What happens when we have a collective failure of imagination over time? When the pieces we accumulate aren't a nice piece of furniture, but a disaster.
Entry 35555 is alarming, frankly, because the specific example the text uses is data center.
Physical data centers.
Yeah, exploding across the landscape. The text points out that centers the size of Manhattan are completely untenable.
The size of Manhattan.
Yeah.
Just to cool and store endless streams of data.
Right. The disassembled furniture metaphor gone wrong. We ship the pieces over 20 years, every duplicate photo, every unread email, and suddenly it's a concrete monolith. Entry 3555 asks these incredibly urgent questions. Is it too late to innovate a solution?
What happens to them in 50 years?
Exactly. Will these existing centers just be an eyesore for decades?
So what does this all mean? When I look at those massive physical Manhattan-sized data centers, I can't help but connect it all the way back to our very first segment, to entry 3552.
The Evernote database.
Yes. I want you, the listener, to really consider this. Is our personal hoarding of digital notes, our 14,000 files, is that just a micro-level reflection of this macro-level failure of imagination?
Oh, wow.
Are we building our own untenable Manhattan-sized mental data centers?
We absolutely are. Every unread article in that weekend folder takes up cognitive space until we are completely paralyzed.
It's incredible how Dynaxiom of 3551 through 3560 connects all these dots. I mean, just look at the journey we've been on today. We started with the trap of making lists and hoarding notes in entry 3552.
Right, and then saw that the journey matters more than the finish line in entry 3554, and we shouldn't over-intellectualize our emotions from entry 3551.
We navigated Andy Warhol's need for direction in entry 3558, the need to wear functional hats in entry 3556, and the pure optimism of making art in entry 3557.
Then we hit the toxicity of endless social media admiration in entry 3560, and the hard truth of entry 3553 that validation has to come from within.
All the way to the consequences of time and patterns in entry 3559, which leads to the physical, sprawling reality of Manhattan-sized data centers in entry 3555.
It's a massive arc.
It really is. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a new idea built on this text, something to just mull over. If admiration is inert, right? And if lists are just an endless hoarding of data, what if the ultimate act of modern creativity isn't creating more things? What if it isn't making more notes or storing more data?
Right.